On today's show, the Moza Racing HBP handbrake. I'm Sean Cole, this is the Sim Pit, and today we're here to feature the Moza Racing HBP handbrake. The HBP handbrake is a standalone device that can be plugged in direct via USB or into any of the Moza Racing wheelbases that have a handbrake connection. The HBP handbrake goes for $99, which is quite a bit less than the Thrustmaster handbrake and a little bit less than the Fanatec brake, and only a little bit more expensive than the generic handbrakes that you can find on Amazon, which makes it relatively inexpensive. The HBP handbrake is made of airplane grade aluminum, featuring a 16-bit sensor, and can be converted from vertical or horizontal lever action. It also has adjustable travel and pressure with an included tuning kit for that same price. The HBP handbrake comes nicely packaged just like all the other Moza gear in that familiar blue and white box with the styrofoam, or I should say foam insert with the cutouts, and all the pieces tucked away nicely inside. Included with the shifter are the tools you need for mounting and adjustments, along with the needed hardware. It also includes a direct USB connection cord, along with the phone-style connector to the Moza bases, the shifter arm, the shifter body itself, and the tuning kit. One nice feature about the Moza HBP handbrake is that the assembly is really basic. All you really have to do is attach the upper arm to the lower arm in one of those two different positions. In the vertical position, it can also be mounted in 6 different angles. And then finally, it can also be mounted in the American, emergency brake, or horizontal position as well. With it built up in my choice of the upright or vertical position, we can get our first look at the HBP handbrake. It is all aluminum grade machined black anodized aluminum. That is, except for the lower plastic cover for the electronics. It is a compact shifter in its footing, and it doesn't take up too much space. Starting at the top, it is a machined aluminum grab handle. It has a silver machined soft edge at the top and 6 more channels for grip or texture. In all, it gives you about 108 millimeters of height to work with and is about 31 millimeters round. This is screwed onto the upper portion of the handbrake arm. The lower portion of the handbrake arm has some machine cutouts in it for some styling and holes to allow for the positional mounting of the upper arm. The lower arm attaches on a pivot point to the lower case, also made of that same aluminum. To the left-hand side of that case is the electronics cover and the plug-in points for the USB or base connections. As the lever is pulled, it compresses a spring that we can see peeking out of the aluminum cover. Underneath that cover is where we can make the adjustments for the pressure and distance of the shifter. The mounting of the HBP handbrake is pretty basic as well, and you have a few different options to choose from. At the front and back, you do have 3 different holes that you can just screw or bolt into any surface. There's also a single threaded hole on the bottom of the shifter. Another option is the Moza handbrake shifter mount, which goes for $29 and clamps to any surface up to 60 millimeters thick. For me, in mounting this to my RC P1 chassis with a mounting plate, I was able to put 1 supplied bolt through the threaded bottom hole and then a supplied nut and bolt through the front side. That should be more than adequate. When it comes down to driving with the Moza Racing HBP handbrake, it really starts with the handle, as that is our contact point with the brake itself. The shape and size of the handle is good for me, although with it being metal, you're not going to want to smack it accidentally when reaching out for it. I started my driving with the default spring, the yellow one. This is the medium strength one, and it is medium to light in pressure. When pulling on the brake, the movement is very smooth and consistent throughout its entire throw. I did find just a touch, a left to right movement if you push the wrong way, but this was not something I noticed while driving. What I did notice right away with the brake was the very long throw or distance that it moves. When I combined the long throw with the medium level spring tension, I found it was great for just little flicks of the handbrake, and that I would have to go much more distance to get more or lock up for extended periods of time. This meant for a massive rear lockup, I would really have to pull far. My testing was also done with the distance adjuster at the stock or long distance. Another nice feature of the HBP brake is that it has a soft stop on both the full application of the brake when the rod hits a rubber distance stop, as well as upon release when that same rod end compresses on an O-ring to hit its final resting spot. Overall, the brake worked really well, and for driving in the dirt, it is such a huge advantage. There are times when the car just won't turn, and the only way to get the car to pivot is with a brake. Granted, it could be done with a button, but it's so much more fun, it's so much more realistic, and I dare say, more performance when done with a lever like this. Another great feature of the HBP handbrake is the fact that it does come with that tuning kit. So I did a lot of the testing with that medium yellow spring, but I did want to try out the heavier blue spring and the lighter weight rubber bushing as well. It is not terribly difficult to change out the springs, but it's not something you're going to want to do each day. The blue spring is a little bit stronger than the yellow one, but it is also linear in its movement like the yellow spring. While the rubber bushing that can also be used is the softest option of the three, but this bushing also has a slight different feel to it. It was less linear and seemed to get harder to press towards the end of the movement despite being lighter than the two springs. It was also progressive on its return in that it wanted to release with more vigor from full than from lighter pressure. Also, while here and talking about tuning, you can move the distance limiter into the forward position to limit the overall travel. It's still a fair amount of travel, but it's nice to be able to make all of these adjustments to fine-tune it for the way you want it to feel for your kind of driving. Well, that should tell you everything that you need to know about the Moza Racing HBP handbrake, but to make it perfectly clear, we'll go ahead and break it down with the good, the not so good, and the bottom line, starting off with the good, and that being, it's very affordable. Looks cool. Included tuning kit. Made of metal. Smooth action. Long throw or range. Adjustable range. Compact design. Adjustable height. Dual position handle. USB or Moza base connection. USB saver for those wanting to save slots on their computer. And now on to the not so good. And I'm going to be honest, I had to really dig down deep to find anything that I really didn't think was up to snuff when it came to this handbrake. I mean, I really had to go beyond things that I would normally even put on this list. So the only things I really came up with were, well, the bolts kind of stick out in order to make it the dual position handle. Very slight left to right movement. And that's really it. I don't really have that much negative to say about this handbrake. At its price, it really delivers. So now on to the bottom line. Is this the nicest handbrake that I've ever tested on the show? No, it is not. Is it the worst handbrake that I've ever tested on the show? Not even close. But for the difference between the economy handbrakes, the generic handbrakes you could find on Amazon, and this one, I don't think it's worth the savings. This is a much nicer unit. And when I think about the comparables to this one and the way it really works, it is a lot less expensive than the like competition that I would choose against it, and to do superior to this one, I would have to spend a whole ton of money on something hydraulic, and I'm not even sure they would give you the advantage for the money they would spend to achieve that difference. Now, do you need a handbrake? No, you really don't for the most part if your main thing is oval racing or strict road racing. But if you're ever in the dirt, if you're into rally cross, if you're into driving the trucks on iRacing, you definitely do want a handbrake. And if you're into drifting, this is one of the first pieces of the kit, one of the most important tools to drifting, so I would call it absolutely necessary for that type of driving there. So I hope you've enjoyed our review of the Moza Racing HBP handbrake. It's been a pleasure to use. It really worked rather well. And if you want more information, you can find it at mozaracing.com. Be sure to give this show a thumbs up if you liked it. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can find out when our next video comes out. And thank you for watching. This is the Sim Pit. I'm Sean Cole, and I'll see you on the track.